Hi, everybody. I'm Susie here from Start a Mom Blog, and I have somebody amazing and super special on our interview today. Cassidy from Succulents and Sunshine.com, and she blogs all about, you guessed it, succulents. And she does very well with it. So I'm super excited to have her here. I'm just going to ask her a ton of really good questions so that you guys can learn how she grew her blog from nothing to now a very good full-time income. And bonus, she is also a mom with two little kids. So she has a 5 and a 3-year-old. And I'm excited to understand how she does it all. All right, Cassidy, if you want to go over and tell us a little bit about you and give us an introduction, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so I have a bachelor's degree in photography. That's kind of where all of this started. So I had been blogging off and on a little bit during school. And it was when, at least in my mind, it's when blogging was like first starting and it was new back in the days where you just like post an update every day, even if you didn't really have anything to say. And so I had I lived in Utah at the time, and it was super cold winter, just dark and ugly. And my mom was like, let's go to a nursery and let's just go find something pretty and fun.
Oh,
So we went to it was called Cactus and Tropicals. And I had seen succulents before. My cousin had used them in her wedding bouquet, and I was in charge of picking up the bouquet. And I'm like, these are really cool. So I wanted to buy some. I knew when we went, that's what I wanted to get. So I bought my first 3 succulents and I started taking pictures of them and posting them on my photography blog thinking, oh, this is a good like behind the scenes of my life. And then I had a job where I was doing like pretty routine photography for a client and I needed something to listen to. And so I started listening to Smart Passive Income and some other just like not blogging, but online business podcasts.
hmm
And I'm like, oh, well, maybe I can make money with my photography blog.
right.
And when I put analytics on the site, I realized I was getting organic search traffic already to these succulent posts on
Wow.
how to propagate succulents. And mind you, I knew nothing about succulents at the time. So
Oh,
anything that was on there, it was just like me researching or experimenting and sharing what was working for me.
yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well, this is cool. Everyone's like searching for like this topic to write about. Maybe I should do succulents. So it took a little bit, but after a couple months, we bought the domain succulentsandsunshine.com. And I switched from having it be just kind of this, I mean, it's still fun, but just for fun, let's post some pictures of these plants
Yeah.
to let's see if we can make a business out of this. And, I was really intentional at that point about like researching things, trying to find the answers to what I was looking for, and then sharing them. And that really started to pay off. So propagation, which if you don't know, is just growing a plant from one that you already have,
Right.
essentially.
Like taking a little leaf of it, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So leaf propagation at the time, no one was talking about it because most of the people who were growing succulents
Yeah.
were in Southern California. And if you've been down there, like the idea of growing a succulent from a leaf is kind of ridiculous. Like, why would you wait that long?
Right.
You just go clip off one from yours or, ask a neighbor and you'll have a much bigger plant faster. So
hmm
no one was really talking about it. And so that was a big hole that I unknowingly was filling at the beginning and then became very intentional about. And, I met a lot of people in the succulent industry and just started researching and sharing what I was learning and, learning about online business along the way.
Yeah.
So I actually, when I graduated high school, my plan was to major in business and then just learn about photography and run my own photography studio after I graduated. But with the business degree, I'd be more equipped to run my own business.
Right. Right.
But partway through decided that was not what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to do the photography business, but I also wanted to learn photography. So ended up switching majors. And so I've just kind of come full circle now where I do run my own business and I still consider myself a photographer. I don't tell people that because they get confused. They're like, oh, so you do like families and weddings? I'm like, nope, I
Right.
photograph plants. Which doesn't make sense. So I do tell people now that I'm a blogger, but in my heart, I'm like, I'm a photographer.
Oh, that's why your pictures are so gorgeous on your website. Like,
And that's really been a huge part of our brand too. So from day one, it was always about having really beautiful photos They're much more beautiful than they were when I started.
Yeah.
But that's always been a big part of it. Everything's very photo heavy. And that's really how we're promoting the site, is through photography.
Right. That's fantastic that you kind of took your talents that you had in college and that you were studying, and you built this into something that you didn't know anything about, and then built a business out of it. And those talents kind of combined to create this beautiful business that you now run. So when did you start your blog? When did you start? Okay, so you started with the photography a little bit, and then when did you start buying that domain name and you became serious, and how long has it been?
So I bought the domain name on Valentine's Day of 2013.
Awesome.
So it'll be 7 years
Wow.
in March, or in February. So I'd had posts up about succulents. I made the mistake of like changing a bunch of the URL or the old blog posts. And so I don't actually remember when those started, but it was probably about a year before I bought the domain that I'd had them up.
Yeah.
So, and the awesome thing was, because I was so intentional about it, and I will say also because internet business was different 7 years ago,
Yeah.
that first year we ended up making about $15,000. And that was
Wow.
really exciting. And so I do
Wow.
feel like I had that year of not making very much, but I also wasn't trying at all, really. So that was really cool to feel like, oh, okay, this is like a big deal. And especially coming from, fairly recently graduated. And then my husband was also pursuing a PhD at the time. That was a lot of money for us. I mean, it is
That's
still a lot of
amazing. It is
money.
$15,000 a lot. So how did you make that in your first-ish year with your blog?
Yeah. So I can't remember if it was in March or April of 2013, we had enough traffic, and Google ads were very different then, that we ended up making $100. Well, we made $100 in Google ads that got paid out in like April or May. So it was like 2 or 3 months worth of Google AdSense. And so then after that, we were pretty consistently getting about $100 a month in ads. And it probably went up because our traffic went up really quick.
Right.
And then we also launched an ebook that year on propagating succulents.
That's
So
awesome.
all of $10. And it's so interesting because at the time that we launched the ebook, I think we sold 10 copies the first week.
Yeah.
And then, or no, it was more, it had to have been more than that. We ended up making, over the course of about 2 or 3 weeks, we made $1,000.
That's
And
amazing.
I was reading all these things where people are like doing 6-figure launches or 5-figure launches. I'm like, oh man,
No, like you
but
made your own ebook and it started
yeah.
selling.
Well, and it's so weird because now looking back, I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, that was amazing that I did
Yeah.
that well, like, and I knew basically nothing. So it's funny to look back and like, I'm way more proud of myself now than I was
Yeah.
then. And we've had much bigger launches since then. But yeah, so the ebook ended up doing again, like a couple hundred, like 1 to 200 a month after that.
Wow.
And we really, so those were the two big things for a long time, was just ebooks and then ad revenue. I don't think it was until like 2015 that I really started looking into affiliate marketing, which
Wow.
is the other good source of income for us now. So we still have ads, we still have ebooks and courses, and then affiliate marketing. But really it was just ads and
That's fantastic.
ebooks.
So how did you launch that first ebook? Because people are like, oh, you have to have this perfect launch plan. Your email list has to be this big. What did you do?
Yep. I must have had a little bit of an email list. I don't know how they were getting to it. It was probably an RSS feed.
Wow.
And maybe like a few people beyond that. I didn't have any lead magnets. I didn't have anything like that. I was not pursuing the email list. I sent out one email about the ebook, and I'm like, okay. And I think that's part of it too. I was like, all right, we're going to sell like 100 today.
Yeah.
We got like probably 10 or 15 that first day, which is really great.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was just an email. And then that's it. I was publishing new content pretty frequently. And so I was including it in the new content that I was
Good.
publishing.
That's smart.
And that was really it. So maybe a little bit via email or RSS feed, however it was going back in the day.
That's really nice.
But it wasn't like this big, grand, we're going to do all of these things. I'm sure I shared it on my personal social media,
Yeah.
which probably reached about 10 people at the time who weren't going to buy,
Yeah.
So yeah, it was it was not very pretty, I guess you could say.
But see, it was still successful. And like, you don't have to have this big launch to build something that brings in an income. You can kind of promote slowly and promote softly. I love that. So you referred to we when you're talking about your business. Who's working with you on it and how do you do it?
Well, at the time it was just me. I'm just so used to saying we, because I honestly feel like it's a family
Mm-hmm.
project. Like if you ask my kids, I don't know, people will ask them things about what we do. And my son, who's 5, he'll be like, well, I work for Succulents and Sunshine and
Oh,
I
that's
water all the
awesome.
plants. And, they can spout off Latin names of succulents and identify them as we're like out and about. Like, last year we were at the eye doctor and they had this huge like picture of an agave, which is pretty normal for here in Phoenix to have, kind of deserty plants.
Yeah.
And my daughter goes, Mom, that's an agave. She was 2.
Oh, wow.
So it's very much a part of our like personal life in that way. Like we have succulents all over. If you could see all around me, my office is filled with plants. So my family is very involved in it. As far as like the day-to-day running of the business, it's really just me. And then I do have a full-time assistant.
Wow.
So she's been with me since August or September of 2017.
Good for you.
And that's made a huge difference.
Yes.
So it's always funny to me when people are like, how do you do it all? And I'm like, well, I don't do it all. Chantel does it all. Like, we call her my super assistant because honestly, she's the one that like keeps the day-to-day running.
Yeah.
And I show up and do what I want to do. And then I'm like, well, can I actually get that to you next week instead? And she's like, okay, but we need to get it done.
That's awesome.
So yeah. So like for me, a typical work week, if we're on track and nothing's weird with our schedule, and I feel like there's always something weird with our schedule.
Right. Especially with kids.
Yeah. But normally, so my son's in kindergarten and my daughter goes to preschool in the mornings. And so I have about 3 hours in the morning that in theory I'm sitting down and working.
Right.
And some days that happens and some days that doesn't happen. But that's usually my like work time. And then if I'm really excited about a project, sometimes I'll do stuff. Sometimes I'll switch off afternoons with my husband and, I'll work later in the afternoon, or sometimes I'll pick stuff up at night. But I will say I don't actually work that much. I'm trying to be better about showing up and working so that more things get done. Like I said, it's great that we have Chantel because she makes the magic happen. So
awesome.
Yeah, so it's been good. But I probably, in a good week, I'm probably working about 20 hours. In a normal week, I'm probably working maybe 10 to 15. So it's just kind of depends. But that's one of the things that I love. And I've also made a very conscious point of doing is, I know we could be growing a lot faster, but I also know that it would mean taking time away from things that I want to do. And it would feel more like a regular job. And the whole point of this type of business and why my husband and I made the decision to continue with it as our full-time income is so that we could have the schedule that we have. So we can help out a friend if they need a babysitter last minute, or we can go do something together if we want to, or just like over Thanksgiving, we're like, well, let's just stay 2 days longer at my in-laws' house, so we have that flexibility. Again, a lot of that is because Chantel is so great and just shows up and gets work done. But even if she was taking time off, we still have systems in place that are getting everything done. It's mostly like the emails and that type of thing that we should maintain faster, and we do. But if we took the time off, like the world wouldn't collapse. We'd still make money.
That is amazing. So that's the reason why my husband and he quit his job in December, and we now have the flexibility to go out for lunch and whatnot, and just to live outside of the norm. But I so relate to you. We also only have 3 hours in the morning when the kids are in kindergarten or preschool, and that's our 3 hours to work. And then after that, it's kind of flexible time.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So your husband, you mentioned he was pursuing his PhD. Is he now with you on the business full time?
No. So once he was done with the PhD, we're kind of trying to figure out what we wanted to do. And I'm like, well, I mean, this was the crazy thing to me. I'm like, essentially we have the same income potential. And unless you find a cure for cancer, succulents might have more income potential.
Isn't that
So
crazy?
yeah. And so we just decided like we liked the lifestyle a lot better. I've also, after my daughter was born, just had a really fun encounter with postpartum depression and figured out that working is one of the things that actually keeps me excited and happy and motivated. And so I basically said, like, I'm going to need to work to some degree in order for me to be a pleasant person to be around, which I normally am. So it was weird to go through that. But yeah, and we're like, okay, we're going to make this choice. We're going to do it. And we got a lot of pushback. Like, really? You just went through, like, I can't remember now, it was 4 or 5 years of a PhD and you're gonna blog, which I will say both of our parents have been very supportive all throughout, but it was just like that one transition point and they're like,
yeah, you're really going to do this.
Like, I mean, we know I was already paying the bills at that point. So it's like, okay, we know it's doing okay, but that's scary. But it's, especially now that we've been doing it. So that was 3 years ago almost. So it's been definitely the best decision we could have made.
I am so happy for you guys. That is amazing. Yeah. We also had a little bit of a, like, you really going to leave John's job? Really? Like, guys, you have 3 kids. You sure you're going to do that? I'm like, yeah. So speaking of that, when did your blog start paying the bills? And if you don't mind, share as many details as you want to. How much are you making now?
Yeah. So that first year we made about 15,000, and for the first couple of years, it roughly doubled in revenue. Profitability did not keep up with that. So let's see, 2013. So I think it was in 2016, maybe it was 2017. We had our first like $100,000 revenue year. So that was super exciting. So really from year 2 or 3, it was paying most, if not all, of our expenses. And my husband did have some funding through the research he was doing in school. So we weren't like 100% relying on it up until the end of summer of 2017 is when we're like, all right, this is what we're doing. That was the first time where it was our only source of income.
That's amazing.
And yeah, so this last year we were just shy of 200,000 in revenue, and this year we're already over that. So I don't know, it'll probably be like 230 or 240 or something.
Wow. I am so happy, guys.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And I know one of the things that people comment on is like, well, yeah, but that's revenue, which is true. And we do have a full-time assistant. So I would not say that, I mean, we're probably paying ourselves, I should probably know this number. This year we'll probably pay ourselves about $60,000 to $70,000.
Yeah.
That's like coming home into our personal bank account, and there's still some in the business plus paying, expenses and all that.
That's amazing. Like, your business is supporting a family of 4.
Yeah. So it's been really awesome. And yeah.
So the money avenues, the income, is it still ads and ebooks, or have you diversified a little bit? And how is the split between all of it?
Yeah. So every time someone's asked me this, I'm like, I need to check to see what the balance really is. But for the most part, we've had a pretty even split. It fluctuates throughout the year, but like as a yearly average, it's almost an even split between ads, ebook and course sales, and then affiliate income.
That's amazing. So
it's getting to where we're focusing a lot more on our own products. So the ebooks, the courses, and we have, a membership now, the Succulent Lovers Club. So that's our big thing for 2020. It's been so fun to do that.
We've awesome.
Had it since September. So we're really excited about that in 2020. We have some really cool things coming. I mean, I know I'm incredibly biased, but we've found some really cool, unique things to add value and really help people. And so it'll be fun to see that all come into place. And
no, I think that's fantastic. Like, when you have your own products, your own membership, your own community, your business just becomes stronger because you actually build your own platform. So that's amazing. So, but one thing that I want to ask is, when new bloggers come into their niches, they can't really find affiliate programs. And I can imagine for Succulents, there might have not been that many affiliate programs. So how did you come around to that?
Yes. So this is one of my favorite things, which you probably know. So when I very first started, I did Amazon. I signed up for Amazon. My life changed when I found out that Etsy had an affiliate program and that people on Etsy were selling succulents. So that was 2015. And I'm like, what? People sell
Perfect.
succulents online and on Etsy and I can be an affiliate? That was a big deal. That brought in like an extra $1,000 a month for us just for making
Yes.
that switch. Like seriously, 2 hours of time, instant, like $1,000 a month. It was so great. Um, but I knew of at least one other online seller at the time, and I had reached out to them. They'd actually sent me some plans for an ebook I was working on that oddly didn't ever get published or make it, but I featured them in a different book, so it all worked out. Um, but they weren't big enough that they could handle more growth at the time. So I talked to them about being an affiliate once I found out about Etsy. And they're like, we can't handle any more growth at the moment. We're still trying to just keep up with what we've already got. So I just kind of kept on the lookout for the next, man, it was 2 years. 2017 was like a really good and really bad year for us. A lot of good things happened. I think it was toward the end of 2016 that company, I think they reached out to me at that point and said, okay, we're ready to
Good.
have an affiliate program. And we went through some really weird months of just figuring out how to make that work. But essentially, they set up an affiliate program for me.
That's
And
amazing.
that was really cool. So now they have a bunch of other affiliates too, which is awesome. Anytime you can get more affiliates on board for your
Right.
affiliate, it's always good for you long term.
Yes.
So that was really cool. And then like you said, there are not a lot of companies that we can be an affiliate for. I mean, we can stretch and try and make things work. And I've tried that and it just doesn't resonate with our audience.
Mm,
So the approach that I've taken is if someone reaches out to me about promoting a product, or if there's a product that I find that I really like, then I actually just reach out to that company and say, hey, would you be interested in setting up an affiliate program? It takes about 30 minutes. And I think now it's like $15 a month for you to run the program. And I can be an affiliate for you. Here's the commission rates that I normally expect. And then here's 3 or 4 other people who could also be an affiliate for you.
wow. What program do you ask them to use?
So it's called Affiliately.
Okay.
I can't remember. Send you a link to it. And it started out being like $9 a month. I think it's about 15 now,
That's not
but
bad.
it is so easy to use. So I've used it both from like an affiliate manager perspective. Like
Yeah.
I signed up for it so I could see what it looked like on that end. But most of the programs that we are affiliates for now are run through that. And it's super easy from a user perspective too.
That's so smart. So you actually go to the company, you're like, I could be an affiliate for you, and this is how you can set up the affiliate program. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. And most people are pretty open to it because so they don't usually know what an affiliate is.
Yeah.
So I've looked up a lot of kind of languaging around that. But if you essentially say like, I want to be a sales rep for you, but just online, and you're only paying me if you're making money. And most people are like, yeah, I'm putting all this money into ads. Why would I not just have you promote and then only pay if I get paid?
Right.
So actually the company that we started working with first, he wanted to pay me just a flat amount per link click, the same way that ads
Wow.
were working. And after we so he determined all of the pricing, but within 2 weeks, he was paying me as much as he normally paid for a full month of Google ads.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is way more than I'm used to getting paid. I'm happy to keep taking this, but I have a feeling this won't last long.
Yeah.
And so that's been the nice thing. We had that good relationship where I'm like, let's try the affiliate program. There's a reason why it works.
Right. It's a win-win.
Yeah. So that's been nice. And then we have another guy who sells soil, who's also been really good to work with, which is like the most random thing to sell, but it's perfect for our audience.
Right.
Yeah. And then a couple other companies that also sell succulents as well.
That's amazing. So if people don't understand who's watching this, you actually refer people to this guy who sells soil, and
Yep.
they buy it from him. So you're not holding soil at your own house.
Nope.
You just refer people to him. You get a cut of the commission and he gets paid and they get the soil, but you don't have any soil in your house for sale.
Correct. Yes. We do not currently sell any physical products. So anytime there's something that we're like, it'd be awesome if we could sell this to our audience, I will go find it either on Amazon or from one of our current affiliates, or try and find someone new who sells that, and then try and set something up with them. So it hasn't worked all the time, but we have. We've probably like approached people 3 or 4 times, and 2 of the 3 times, like, yeah, no, three times it's worked out. So yeah, it's been really good. And some of them are not making very much money at all. Like, we're making enough for it to be worth it for them, but not a whole lot. Whereas others we're making, thousands of dollars from. So
That's amazing.
cool.
All right. So off the money topic, what about traffic? Like, we're just starting out, we launched our blog. What worked for you in the beginning and what's working for you now? And where do you get your traffic from?
So my traffic from the beginning and traffic now are very, very similar. I started out, kind of like I said, just getting organic search traffic.
Yeah.
And I knew from that very moment when we installed analytics on the site and saw what was happening, I knew that's how I wanted it to continue. So I remember finding this ebook about how to make $5,000 a month online. And it was all about like keywords and getting search traffic. And that really resonated with me. So that's always been our number one priority from day one, is finding ways to rank better in Google, to rank for new search terms, and just really focusing on organic search traffic. So I feel like my kind of secret weapon in the beginning was that people didn't know that you should name your images before you upload them, and that you should be alt text. And that's becoming a lot more commonplace, and most people know that and understand it now. But I'm surprised at how many people still don't do that.
We don't do it. We know we should, but we forget. We're like, oh, it's just an image. I'm not going to name the image.
Yeah. And it makes a big difference. So a lot of the traffic I was getting initially, eventually we were able to figure out, was actually through Google image search is where it was coming from, because they had this pretty little picture of these leaves propagating. And anyway, so that started ranking well and had a really high click-through rate, which just helped the site as a whole. So search traffic still accounts for about 60 to 70% of our overall traffic.
That's awesome. That's good traffic too.
Yeah. And yeah, it's done really, really well. And then we probably get 10 to 15% from Pinterest, and then a little bit from email. I mean, we generate most of our sales through email.
Yeah.
But it accounts for very little of our traffic overall. And then like a handful from Facebook and different places. So,
well, that's awesome. Like, you have all this like search engine traffic, which is really good, high converting traffic. People are searching for it. They want it. It's not just showing up there in their feed as they're scrolling and it's some random article like, oh, okay, that's interesting. They're actually going out and searching for it. So that's awesome. So you mentioned on your email list, are you growing your email list currently? And how big is that? How's that working for you?
Yes. So I think we just passed 65,000 subscribers.
Wow.
We've kind of had some ups and downs with it, but
that's
I think that's
huge.
where we're at now. So, yeah. So it's been awesome. So that's been my biggest focus for the last 2 to 3 years, has been email. And not necessarily just growing the subscribers, although that definitely helps, but also focusing on how to sell better to my email list and really giving them the solutions that they need. So this is like the thing I've been diving into really hard this week, is I'm like, okay, I know these things are helpful to people. I know that the people who are in it love it and they're excited about it, but I'm not communicating that very well. So a lot of what I've been focusing on is like, because I'm so distant personally from my audience now, because my approach to growing succulents is very different than it was when I could barely afford $15 worth of succulents and needed to like keep them alive. So I'm trying to learn more again from my audience, see what their needs really are, and how I can show them that what I have to offer is going to save them so much time and hassle and frustration, and just get them to where they want to be faster, which is like being really happy with their plants and just being excited.
Not letting them all die.
Yes. Yeah. And the thing that's been so interesting to me is over the last, really the last year, as we do a lot of surveys. We have a big Facebook group. And so we basically use it just to poll people and get information, which is so fun because people love to share about themselves. And the thing that we've learned that's surprising to me is a really good chunk of our audience and our customers, especially, are people who have depression or anxiety or PTSD, and gardening is their escape.
Therapy.
And succulents are great because you can give them love and attention if you want to, but they're going to survive just fine if you need to neglect them for a few days while you're having a really rough week.
Oh,
So that's been really cool to see. Not that just having happy plants in and of itself is not valuable, but just realizing that it's actually a lot bigger deal to some people than we're realizing. So it's been really cool.
It's really touching. That's amazing. Yeah. So I just love that. So growing your email list to 65,000 people that are interested in what you have to say and want to follow you for all these amazing reasons. How did you do that? That's a very large number.
Yeah. So it's through playing with different lead magnets or opt-ins. So we started out with like a really basic, I guess you could call it cheat sheet. I think the first one I ever made, I'm not positive, it's the first one I remember, was top 10 indoor succulents. So the 10 best succulents for growing indoors, which is what most of our audience is doing. And then we transitioned from there to when we built our paid course. Then we did like a free mini course called Succulents for Beginners.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one that's done really well across the board. The one that we are currently running or getting most of our opt-ins through is called Signs Your Succulents Need Water, because that's what most people want to know is like, am I overwatering or am I underwatering?
Right.
So that one's worked pretty well. We're actually in the process of kind of developing and researching a new lead magnet, again, just to make sure we're getting something that's really helping our audience understand that they can do it and give them, that kind of quick win and get them excited about succulents. So really it's come down to just playing around with both creating lead magnets. Those are the 3 that have worked. I have some others that haven't worked. Yeah. So playing around with that and not being afraid to just try something new. Thankfully, we have enough traffic that within a week I can figure out if something's resonating or not. Sometimes in a day you can find out, but, and then also working with like the placement of where they're opting in. And that's something that trends have changed. People react to things differently now because they're so used to seeing pop-ups or, ads and different things come in. So we've worked a lot with the placement of the opt-ins. And one of the changes that we made that I would have told you would not work, that did. So we had at the top of most of our main posts, I had kind of this like big banner. It was not a banner, but it was like this blue box right within the post content that said, hey, get this free cheat sheet, Signs Your Succulent Needs Water. The wording was a little bit more grabby than that, but, and it was converting at like 2 to 3% on most posts. So pretty like, normal. It's good, like we'll take it. And then I, had a mentor who said, let's try something totally different. And so we switched and we just had this paragraph of text that said, hey, I have this free cheat sheet, Signs Your Succulent Needs Water, that'll show you whether or not your succulent's over or underwatered. Click here to grab the cheat sheet. It'll be super helpful. And on that click here, we just had a link and it would pop up with the form. And we went from converting on those pages at like, again, that 2 to 3% to on some pages 6 or 7%.
Wow.
And to me, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. It's not in your face. Like it's not visible, but people who were reading it and they wanted it. Whereas I think a lot of people were skimming over the big box because it looked like an ad, or just, so that was really interesting.
It's very smart.
So that's something that I would not have thought about on my own. So I love like learning from other people and being willing to try something. So that's in terms of growing the list. I mean, it's really been focusing on the lead magnets just with the traffic that we already have.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So you've talked about, I'm so sorry. You talked about succulents so much. Can you tell us a little bit about succulents themselves and like the knowledge that you have so that people that are actually interested in your succulent business can go check out your blog, join your membership, and sign up for your courses?
Sure. Yeah. So succulents are a water, it's like get into definition mode. So most of the succulents that people would recognize would be like a jade plant or aloe vera, or a commonly asked question is, all cactus are succulents. Not all succulents are cactus, but they're a subgroup. And basically they're just water efficient plants. So they don't need water as frequently, which if you think about cactus totally makes sense.
Right.
But one of the common misconceptions, well, there's two. One is that they don't need any water to survive. And so we have a lot of people that come in, they're like, yeah, I haven't watered this succulent in like, I don't know, 6 weeks, and it's just not looking great. I'm like, well, that's why. I mean, they don't like as much water as other plants, but they need some. And then kind of the opposite of that is people who are into normal houseplants and they're like, I've been watering my succulent every day. That looks crappy. Like, what's going on? Well, they don't want water every day either. So, those are kind of like the two extremes. And of course you have people in the middle, but basically they're plants that just can go for longer periods of time without water. One of the things that makes them also unique is a lot of them are really colorful. So they're popping up all over. So I'm positive if you go do a Google search for succulents and look at the images, you'll be like, oh yeah, I've seen these on so-and-so's Instagram feed because they're using them for all of their stock images, or, they show up everywhere now. But yeah, they're really fun plants. So there's a lot of like purples and pinks and reds, and they're not flowers that bloom. They just stay that color forever.
That's nice. Do you have one that you want to show us?
Let me see. This one's a big one.
We love props.
All right, they are all under my desk at the moment, waiting for a new home my husband is building.
Oh, that one's beautiful.
So this is called Lilac Mist. Oop, dirt's falling off. But yeah, so it's just kind of a purpley, okay, I won't take it more. But a nice purple color. The thing that I also really love that we're affiliates for is pottery. So this is, if you want some fun pottery to look at, this is Hammerly Ceramics on Instagram. He's one of my favorites. So
if you have an affiliate link, I'll add it to the show notes so people can go through it.
Yeah, so that's the other fun thing for me is in my dream world, one day I might make pottery for a living. That's what I would really like to do.
Oh, how
but
fun.
I don't make good pottery. I've barely even tried. So
hey, you didn't know anything about succulents when you started. You might turn into an expert.
Yes, so that's on my to-do list I've actually been trying it for like the last year, and I'm like, I just don't have the time to put into it. So I'm like, in 2 years. My goal is to start doing pottery. So
that's so awesome. So Cassidy, this has been fantastic. This has been so helpful. Really appreciate it that you grew a business from literally knowing nothing about it to now a full-time business that supports you and your family. How can we support you and where can we find you?
Yeah, so you can find all the succulent information at succulentsandsunshine.com. And then I'm dabbling in sharing some of my knowledge. It's not anything super exciting yet, but there's just some other info at CassidyTuttle.com as well. So over the years, that may become more exciting, but you might be underwhelmed right now.
I doubt it. You're amazing. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk again soon.
Thanks. It was good to chat.
Thank you.